Welcome to the third dimension. Israel launched a massive attack on Lebanon on Monday, killing 558 people and injuring thousands over separate airstrikes in different areas. The Israeli attack far outstripped the intensity of the 2006 invasion of Lebanon, in which 1,000 people were killed during an entire month. Israel's bombing followed its mass attack last week, in which thousands of pagers and other communication devices exploded throughout Lebanon, killing 37 people and injuring thousands. The Israeli escalation in Lebanon comes as world leaders gather at the United Nations General Assembly seeking to avert an all-out regional war. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres' spokesman said he was gravely alarmed as focus shifted from Gaza to Lebanon, and the EU's top diplomat Joseph Borrell warned, "We are almost in a full-fledged war." While the Biden administration has publicly claimed that it is seeking a de-escalation of tensions and a ceasefire, Biden seems to have little leverage on the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Experts warn that with the expansion of the war into Lebanon, not only the people of Gaza, but the entire population of the Middle East risk a catastrophic fate. To impact this topic, I am delighted to be joined by Mr. Nabeel Nagem. Mr. Nagem is an international relations expert and a senior Middle East analyst. Mr. Nagem, good to have you in my show again.
It's a pleasure, sir, to be here.
Okay. Now, how would you describe the Israeli escalation on Lebanon in the context of a wider regional conflict?
I have to start by saying what this extremist prime minister of that outlawed state is showing great disrespect to the United Nations, to the international law, and is he going to get the whole area in a flame, in a fire? We're going to wait and see for the next few days, but for sure he is snubbing off the international community and the international law.
Okay. Now, as you have just put your hand or put your finger on Benjamin Netanyahu, New York Times said yesterday, Mr. Nagem, in a very detailed article, that Netanyahu is no longer satisfied with carrying periodic brushbacks of Hezbollah. He thinks time has come to solve the problem once and for all, both in Gaza and Lebanon. How far this reflected on the ground?
I don't agree at all with such vision. This guy is like a monkey or like a gorilla who climbed a very high tree. He cannot get down. So he is just trying to throw more fuel on the fire. By widening the genocide from Gaza to Lebanon, he is just, widening the scale of chaos, and he is running away from the moment of truth. By the way, hitting the southern Lebanon and bombing east of the south in Al-Baqa Valley and now Beirut as well is going to drag Hezbollah and people who are behind it to launch their long-range missiles. And now we're going to open a new chapter, which is Iran might be dragged into such a conflict, Shiite militias in Iraq as well. So the guy is not in a situation to be considered as a statesman. He is a gangster who believes in sort of, what you call it, killing and killing and killing, and no respect for humanity, no respect for the international law.
Okay, so in fact, people observed that during Rwanda's genocide, Mr. Nabeel, digital devices was not there. Now in Gaza and in Lebanon, genocide can be seen in broad daylight. Okay, now if we just turn now to the U.S. role here, Mr. Nagem, okay, the United States has repeatedly claimed de-escalation is a major principle in the Middle East for Biden's administration. Yet, the Pentagon spokesman yesterday announced that the United States is sending more troops to the region. How does that confirm with the policy of de-escalation?
Okay, let me throw out a few facts. Fact number one, that extreme prime minister of the state of Israel does not respect the administration in the White House. He is not in a good shape with President Joe Biden of the United States of America. And he said that clearly. And he is working very hard to topple the Democrats out of the White House and replace them by the Republicans and Mr. Trump. So that's fact number two. Fact number three, the present administration is totally paralyzed. Politically, it's paralyzed. And we have to reconsider the name of the game. And we have to reconsider the rules of the game. We have to change the rules of the game and not count too much on Washington, D.C., because the relation between Tel Aviv and Washington is not a straightforward, clear relation.
Yeah. As we talk about the role of U.S. administration, if I could take you back to 1982, Mr. Nagem, when the first Israeli invasion happened in Beirut, and the U.S. President then, Ronald Reagan, had a very harsh and strict position. He called Menachem Begin, telling him that war should stop, otherwise the U.S. would halt its support to Israel. Okay, do you find a kind of comparison between both administrations?
Not at all. Not at all. You are talking about over 40 years ago, and you are talking about a different American administration. U.S. President Ronald Reagan was a strong man, and Menachem Begin was almost a statesman. And you have to remember that Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin is the one who signed the Camp David Agreement when President Sadat of Egypt launched his initiative for peace. So the guy now is a gangster. He's not a statesman. Benjamin Netanyahu is a gangster, and I know what I'm talking about. And I'm not talking here emotionally. I am talking according to his deeds, not talks. This guy has violated the whole rules of conflicts, the whole rules of wars. He has violated the international credibility of any state. So, no way to compare President Reagan 42 years ago and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Number two, there is something in D.C., Washington, D.C. called Washington Gang. The guy who is in the White House is not the only guy who is fixing the pieces of the chess. No, there is a gang which is ruling Washington. And I believe very much one of those members of the gang, Ibak, for example, which is enjoying an considered credibility and authority. Number three, I believe very much USA is a member of the Security Council with another 4 members, Russia, China, Britain, and France. I cannot understand how come this UN body, the Security Council, which his main responsibility is to keep peace and stability around the world, is just, playing stupid against what's happening in Gaza and now Lebanon. And by the way, unless the Security Council with its 5 members move and stop the messing about of this extreme prime minister, the whole area is in the verge of a total chaos.
Yeah, but many argue in the same context, Mr. Nagem, that in the end of the day, it is the superpowers who control the United Nations Security Council, and without a real will from those people or from those countries, nothing can be materialized in the ground.
That's exactly what we are going through for the last 4 decades.
Yeah.
Russia has got its own agenda. China has got a different agenda. USA is the same. Britain and France has got their own agendas. So that body has got to be restructured.
Yeah.
We cannot keep going with a body where every member of that body is playing its own note. No, we cannot keep going like that. Otherwise, you find people like Netanyahu messing about and doing whatever they want.
Yes. Okay. Now, as we talk now, Mr. Nagem, talking about the United Nations Security Council, okay, world leaders are gathering at the United Nations General Assembly, okay, and in his opening speech, the United Nations Secretary General said, "Our world is heading off the rails, and we need tough decisions to get back on track." My question is, in your opinion, Mr. Nagem, what tough decisions does the Secretary General mean?
I like that question very much, and I'd like to remind the audience that the brave Secretary General, the present brave Secretary General, has called for what he said the summit, the future summit, 22nd of September till the 24th of September. The meaning of this summit is to re-evaluate, reconsider the role of the United Nations and its organizations. Tough decisions we need to stop and turn the page. The United Nations, with its present vision and mechanism, is not doing the job. The General Assembly produces a piece of law which is not applicable. And the Security Council is divided among the different agendas. So, tough decisions to get the world in the right track is to widen the Security Council. For example, Africa should have a member, a permanent seat to Asia as another bloc. And the main issue is we have to delete the right of veto or veto right.
Yeah.
Because you cannot come and 4 guys agree on something and the 5th uses his veto right. So it's useless. Tough decision means we have to change the world organization, United Nations, and its Security Council. For example, I would like to refer to something very interesting. Since the fall of Berlin Wall and since the disintegration of USSR,
Yeah.
the whole world is just, lost. There is no international respected equation. And I believe very much we are watching the rise of a new world order where those 5 and that body is going to be forced to change.
Okay. A final point, if you may, Mr. Nagem, okay. Amid all these developments and in view of the escalation, we started in Gaza and now in just weeks we will enter the first anniversary of that war, and now Benjamin Netanyahu has moved the war into Lebanon, okay. What the future holds for the region, Mr. Nagem?
It is vague. It is very vague. and nobody can tell you what's going to happen in the next few weeks or months. This area, the Middle East, is quite a sensitive area. The oil, the international passages for trade, and I believe very much if the warning of those wise capitals has not been respected, and if we do not control this gangster, Benjamin Netanyahu, the whole area will be in a big flame, and we could face a regional war. Regional war means if Iran gets involved, Israel is going to use its long-range missiles. Iran will do the same. Iraq will get involved, and the oil countries will be in a very critical situation. And Suez Canal, Red Sea, I believe that we have to get this guy out of the driving seats, because he is driving all the area into the unknown.
Okay. With that, we come to the end of this interview, Mr. Nagem. Thank you so much for talking to Yemen today, and thank you so much for your time and insight.
Thank you.
That's all for this time. See you next week with a new edition of The Third Dimension.